The orphans found themselves at the center of attention. People praised them for sharing their discovery instead of keeping it for themselves. For the first time in their lives, Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka felt truly valued by their community. But as the day wore on and their supply of fruits dwindled, the children began to worry. What would happen when the fruits ran out? Would the tree grow more? And what about the destroyed forest? As if in answer to their unspoken questions, something strange began to happen. The villagers who had eaten the fruits started to glow faintly, just like the fruits themselves. And as they walked, plants seemed to spring up in their footsteps. A woman brushed against a burned tree, and new leaves burst forth from its branches. A man knelt to tie his shoe, and grass began to grow where his knees touched the ground. Excited murmurs spread through the crowd. The chief called for silence. It seems, he said, his voice filled with awe, that these magical fruits have not only healed us but given us the power to heal our land as well. He turned to the three orphans. You three have brought a great gift to our village. With this power, we can restore our forest and make our land more fertile than ever before. The villagers cheered, and soon, everyone was heading towards the burned forest. As they walked, plants grew in their wake. Trees that had been blackened stumps began to sprout new branches. Flowers bloomed, and fruit trees heavy with ripe produce seemed to grow in minutes. Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka watched in amazement as the destruction of the fire was undone before their eyes. The forest was coming back to life, more lush and vibrant than ever before. But even as they celebrated this miracle, a new worry nagged at the back of their minds. The ghost had said the magic seed would change their lives forever. How else might their lives change? And what would happen when the magic wore off? As the sun began to set on this extraordinary day, the three orphans sat together on a hill overlooking the rejuvenated forest. They watched as villagers continued to work, their glowing forms moving among the trees like fireflies. Do you think we did the right thing? Folake asked quietly, sharing the fruits with everyone. Adebayo nodded. I think so. Look at all the good it's done. The forest is back, and everyone is healthy and happy. But what about us? Emeka piped up. Will we go back to being hungry and alone once this is all over? Before Adebayo could answer, they heard footsteps behind them. It was the village chief, accompanied by several elders. Children, the chief said, his voice solemn. We owe you a great debt. You have saved our village and our forest. We have been discussing how to repay you. The orphans looked at each other, surprised. They hadn't expected any reward. From this day forward, the chief continued, you will be under the protection and care of the entire village. We will ensure you have food, clothing, and an education. You will never be alone or neglected again. Tears welled up in the children's eyes. This was more than they had ever dared to hope for. But the chief wasn't finished. Furthermore, we want to build you a new home. A proper home, where you can grow up comfortably and safely. Adebayo, always the protective older brother, found his voice. Thank you, chief. But, what about our old home? The one Mama Chidi left us. The chief smiled kindly. We thought of that too. If you agree, we'd like to turn your old home into a shelter for other orphan children. A place where they can find the same love and care that Mama Chidi gave to you. The three children looked at each other, communicating silently as only close siblings can. Then they turned back to the chief and nodded in unison. We would like that very much, Adebayo said, his voice thick with emotion. As night fell over the village, the glow of the villagers began to fade. But the restored forest remained, a testament to the day's miracles. And in the hearts of three orphan children, a new light had kindled, the light of hope for a brighter future. But even as they celebrated their good fortune, a small voice in the back of their minds whispered a warning. The ghost had said the magic seed would change their lives forever. What other changes might be in store? And would they all be as wonderful as this? Weeks passed, and life in the village settled into a new rhythm. The forest, once burned and lifeless, now thrived more than ever before. Fruits grew larger and sweeter, crops yielded bountiful harvests, and even the air seemed fresher and more invigorating. For Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka, life had changed dramatically. True to his word, the village chief had overseen the construction of a new home for them. A sturdy, comfortable house with real beds, a kitchen, and even a small garden. They no longer went to sleep hungry or woke up cold. Their old home had indeed become a shelter for other orphan children, managed by Mrs. Okafor and other kind-hearted villagers. Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka often visited, sharing their story with the new children and offering hope. The three siblings were now attending school regularly. Adebayo excelled in mathematics and science, dreaming of becoming an engineer. Folake discovered a talent for writing and storytelling, while little Emeka showed a remarkable gift for music. But as the days went by, strange things began to happen in the village. It started small at first. A farmer noticed his chickens laying eggs with golden yolks. A fisherman caught fish that seemed to glow in the dark. Children who played in the restored forest came home with flowers that never wilted. At first, these occurrences were seen as wonders, further proof of the magical fruit's blessings. But then, more unsettling events began to unfold. One morning, Adebayo woke up to find vines growing through his bedroom window, their leaves shimmering with an otherworldly light. When he tried to cut them, they grew back instantly, thicker than before. Folake discovered she could understand the whispers of the wind, hearing secrets carried from far-off lands. The knowledge was overwhelming, often leaving her with terrible headaches. Emeka's music took on a haunting quality. When he sang or played his small drum, animals would gather around him, and sometimes, inanimate objects would move to his rhythm. The three siblings weren't the only ones experiencing strange phenomena. Throughout the village, people reported odd occurrences. Some found they could move objects with their minds. Others discovered they could heal injuries with a touch. A few even claimed they could see glimpses of the future. As these powers grew stronger and more widespread, fear began to creep into the hearts of the villagers. They whispered among themselves, wondering if the magic fruits had been a curse rather than a blessing. The village chief called a meeting to discuss the situation. As the villagers gathered in the square, an atmosphere of tension hung in the air. "My people," the chief began, his voice grave. "We have been blessed with great gifts, but now we must ask ourselves, at what cost? These powers, they're changing us, changing our way of life. Is this what we truly want?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, while others looked uncertain. Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka sat at the back of the gathering, listening intently. They felt responsible for what was happening. After all, they had been the ones to share the magical fruits. As the debate grew heated, with villagers arguing for and against the changes, a cold wind suddenly swept through the square. The crowd fell silent as a familiar, ethereal figure materialized in their midst. It was the ghost from the forest. Gasps and cries of fear erupted from the villagers, but the ghost raised a hand for silence. "People of the village," it spoke in its dry, rustling voice. "I see you have partaken of the fruits of change. But change, like all things, comes with a price." The ghost turned its milky eyes towards Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka. "You three, come forward." Trembling, the siblings made their way through the parting crowd. They stood before the ghost, holding hands for courage. "You were given a great gift," the ghost continued. "A chance to change your lives and the lives of those around you. But with great power comes great responsibility. The magic you have unleashed is tied to this land, to the very essence of life itself. It cannot be undone." The ghost paused, its form flickering like a candle in the wind. "You must choose now. Will you embrace this new world of magic and wonder, with all its dangers and responsibilities? Or will you ask me to take it all away, returning to the life you knew before?" The village held its breath, all eyes on the three orphans. Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka huddled together, speaking in hushed whispers. This was a decision that would affect not just them, but everyone in the village and beyond. After what seemed like an eternity, they turned back to face the ghost and the villagers. Adebayo, his voice strong despite his fear, spoke for them all. "We chose to share the fruits because we wanted to help our village. We didn't know about the powers or the changes it would bring. But now that it's happened, we can't just wish it away." Folake stepped forward. "These gifts, these powers, they're scary, yes. But think of all the good we could do with them. We could help people far beyond our village. We could make the world a better place." Emeka, the youngest but no less brave, added his voice. "And it's not just about the powers. Look at how we've all come together. We're taking care of each other now. Isn't that worth something?" The ghost nodded slowly. "A wise choice, young ones. But remember, with this decision comes a great burden. You must learn to control these powers, to use them wisely and for the good of all. The ghost turned to address the entire village. People of this land, you have been given a rare opportunity. The magic of life itself now flows through you and your land. How you use it will determine not just your fate, but the fate of the world around you. With those words, the ghost began to fade away. But before it disappeared completely, it looked once more at Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka. You three have started this journey. It falls to you to guide your people on this new path. And then, like mist in the morning sun, the ghost was gone. The village square erupted in excited chatter. The chief called for order, and gradually, a plan began to take shape. They would embrace their new gifts, but with caution and responsibility. They would establish schools to teach control over these newfound powers, and create rules for their use. In the months and years that followed, the village became known far and wide as a place of wonders. People came from all over to learn and to seek help. The three orphans, Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka, grew into leaders and teachers, helping others understand and control their gifts. Adebayo used his analytical mind to study the science behind the magic, finding ways to combine traditional knowledge with these new powers. Folake became a storyteller and historian, recording the village's transformation and sharing their experiences with the world. Emeka's music evolved into a form of healing, bringing comfort and joy to all who heard it. The village flourished, becoming a beacon of hope and progress. But it wasn't always easy. There were times when the powers seemed overwhelming, when mistakes were made, and lessons had to be learned the hard way. Yet through it all, the memory of that magical night when a ghost had given three orphans a chance to change their lives kept them going. As the years passed, Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka often found themselves sitting on the same hill where they had once watched their village celebrate the restoration of the forest. They would look out over their thriving community, marveling at how far they had come. "Do you ever wonder," Emeka asked one evening, "what would have happened if we hadn't eaten those fruits? If we had just kept them to ourselves?" Folake shook her head. "I try not to think about what ifs. We made our choice, and look at all the good that's come from it." Adebayo nodded in agreement. "The ghost said the seed would give us what we needed most. I think what we really needed wasn't food or money or a new house. It was the chance to make a difference, to be part of something bigger than ourselves." As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant golds and purples, the three siblings sat in comfortable silence. They had faced challenges and changes beyond their wildest dreams, but they had faced him together. And in doing so, they had not only changed their own lives, but the lives of everyone around them. The story of the three orphans and the magical fruits became legend, passed down through generations. It served as a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness and sharing can set in motion changes that ripple out far beyond what we can see or imagine. And so, in a village that straddled the world of the ordinary and the magical, three once lonely orphans found not just a family in each other, but a place where they truly belonged. Their lives had indeed been changed forever, in ways they never could have imagined on that fateful night when they entered the forest in search of food and instead found a destiny. As night fell and the first stars appeared in the sky, Adebayo, Folake, and Emeka made their way back to the village, ready to face whatever new adventures tomorrow might bring. For in a world touched by magic, every day held the promise of wonders yet to be discovered. And with that, our tale of the three orphans, the ghost, and the magical fruits that changed their lives comes to an end. But in many ways, their story, and the story of their village, was just beginning.